Today we are looking at multiplying fractions with mixed numbers. How do I multiply fractions is my essential question. My learning intention, I'm learning to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions. You have 4 warm-up questions. Pause the video and see if you can work through those on your own. Good luck. Well, I hope you paused the video and I hope you tried. When we're multiplying, we multiply the top numbers together and the bottom numbers. But we also know that if we look, we can simplify at this point. I've got 4, I've got 8. I know that 8 is divisible by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. I also know that 5 is a factor of 15. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So what does it look like now? This has become 1 times 3 over 1 times 2, which is simply 3/2. Was that what you got? For the next one, we do not divide fractions. We multiply by that reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 14 over 3 is what we divide by, multiply by, because we can't divide by. 7 over 9 times 3 over 14, multiply by that reciprocal. Look and see if you have a common factor. 7 goes into 14 2 times. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 14 divided by 7 is 2. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So this has become 1 times 1 over 3 times 2, which is 1 over 6. So when you're multiplying and dividing, you don't divide, but you multiply by the reciprocal. You do not have to have that common denominator. But if you are going to add or subtract, you have to have a common denominator. So if we are looking at 4/5 and 3/10, I'm looking at my denominators. Is 5 a factor of 10? Yes, that means I can change 4/5 into something over 10. I have to think, what am I multiplying 5 by to get 10? 5 times 2. What do I multiply 4 by? 2 also. 4 times 2 is 8. So this is 8 over 10 plus 3 over 10, which gives me 11 over 10. Can I simplify? Can I change 11 over 10 into a mixed number because it's already simplified? Yes. 11 over 10 is equal to, well, 11 divided by 10 is 1, with a remainder of 1. So it is 1 and 1/10. For the next one, we have mixed numbers. The first thing I have to do before I can find that common denominator and subtract is to change them into mixed numbers. This is something I have always liked doing. So 2 times 3 plus 2. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 over 3 minus 4 times 1 is 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 over 4. Now, we don't have that common denominator. We've got to find it. 3 is prime. And 4 is factors that are only 2 times 2 and 1 times 4. So there is no common factor, so 3 times 4 will be my least common multiple. 3 times 4 is 12. 8 over 3 equals what over 12? 3 times 4 is 12. 8 times 4 is 32. Seven over 4 equals what over 12? I multiply by 3. 7 times 3 is 21. 32 over 12 minus 21 over 12. 32 minus 21 is 11. This becomes 11 over 12. Because 11 is smaller than 12, I cannot change it into a mixed number. If you're still struggling with those concepts, back up the video and watch it again. For the next one, we're looking at a mixed review. In order to add or subtract fractions, you must have what? Common denominators. Okay, we've got word problems. Write the equation and solve. Ellen planned to interview some applicants for the position in her office. If she scheduled 1/4 of an hour to meet each of them, how much time did she schedule for all 6 applicants? So she scheduled 1/4 of an hour, and there are 6. How much time is that? So to find the total amount of time, I take that 1/4 of an hour that she allowed, I multiply it by 6. That would be 6 over 1. 1 times 6 is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. Can I simplify that? Yes, I can factor out a 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So, how much time did she have? 3/2 is the same as 1 1/2. So it would take an hour and a half to interview the 6. It would take 1.5 hours to complete the interviews. Okay, any questions? Okay, what about instead of a half hour, Ellen spent 1/3 of an hour to meet each applicant. How much more time did she spend meeting all the applicants? So this time, instead of 1/4, she spent 1/3 of an hour. How much time would that be? Well, remember there's still 6 applicants. So it would be 1/3 of an hour times my 6 applicants. That would give me 6 over 3. 6 over 3 is equal to 2. Okay, before it only took, we're wanting to know how much more time she spent. Before it only took an hour and a half, but now it takes 2. What is the difference? 2 minus 1 1/2 equals. Well, I would hope that you would realize without going through the math that you would have 1/2 left. If I got 2 minus 1 1/2, or I should have a half left. So it would take 1/2 hour more. It would take 1/2 hour more, 1/2 hour longer. To interview. After the interview, Ellen decided to hire 2 of the applicants and reject the others. Ellen's assistant called back the applicants to tell them the result. She spent 1/30 of an hour calling each of the rejected applicants and 1/3 of an hour calling the hired applicants. How much time did the assistant spend making these calls? So we know that the number of applicants hasn't changed, but now she's hired 2 and rejected the others. How many did she reject? She started with 6, and then she rejected 2, hired 2, which means she rejected 4. Okay, 1/30 of an hour calling each of the rejected applicants, and 1/3 of an hour calling the hired applicants. How much time did she spend making these calls? Okay, so we're going to start with 1/30. 1/30 of an hour for the rejected applicants. How many applicants were rejected? 4. And 1/3 of an hour calling the 2 that she had hired. So 1 times 4 is 4. 4 over 30 plus 1 times 2 is 2. 2 over 3. How do I change 3 into 30? I multiply by 2. By 10. How do I change 2/3 into something over 30? Multiply top and bottom by 10. When I multiply by 10, the shortcut is just to add that 0 at the end. So this becomes 20 over 30. Four plus 20 is 24. 30 doesn't change. Can I simplify? Well, the factors of 24 are 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Well, 6 also goes into 30. So to simplify, I'm going to divide top and bottom by 6. So she spent 4/5 of an hour. Calling. How much of an hour, how many minutes would that be? How many minutes are in an hour? 60. So I'm going to convert 4/5 into something over 60. Five times 12 is 60. 4 times 12 is 48. She spent 48 minutes calling. Any questions? Okay, now let's talk about Ethan. Ethan is printing some materials for a meeting. If the printing of the first copy cost $1.50 and the other copies cost 4/5 of a dollar to print, how much will it cost if he is making 13 copies? So, he's got that meeting and he's making the first copy for $1.50 and the other copies for 4/5 of a dollar, and he needs 13 total. So $1.50 will not change, plus 4/5. Okay, how many more copies? If I've made one copy, but I need 13 copies, how much more copies do I need to make? 1 plus 12 equals 13. So I'm going to change this into an improper fraction. This will be 3/2 plus 48/5. I've got to find that common denominator so I can add them together. Okay, 2 times 5 is 10. 10 is my smallest common denominator. 10 is my smallest common multiple. So that is my common denominator. 3/2 is equal to what over 10? 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, 48/5 is equal to what over 10? Multiply by 2. 48 times 2 is 96. And that gives me 111/10. But I need to change it into a decimal because money is in decimals. How do I change 111 divided by 10 into a decimal? I move my decimal point over 1. So it becomes 11.1. To change it into dollars, it would be $11.10. It will cost $11.10 to copy. Or to make the copies would be a little bit better. Ethan must be some kind of a assistant because he's going to type some documents. So while he's waiting for the meeting to start, he decides to type up some documents. He can type 2 pages every 1/8 of an hour. If the meeting started 3/4 of an hour later than scheduled, how many pages can he type before the meeting starts? So we know the relationship is 2 pages for 1/8 hour. But he's got 3/4 of an hour. I need to change 3/4 into something over 8. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. Okay. How many 8s are in how many 1/8s are in 6/8? There would be 6. So 6 times 2 is 12. He will be able to type 12 pages before the meeting starts. So, how do you know when you're successful? You know you're successful when you can solve any problem using fractions. And so these are word problems with fractions.